Have you ever wondered why a woman can meet dozens of men in her life? Some more handsome, richer, and smoother than others. Yet suddenly she becomes addicted to one man who doesn't even try that hard? Why does her heart race for him? Why does she check her phone at night waiting for his text? Why does she crave him like he's oxygen? The answer isn't in money, looks, or fake confidence. It lies in two powerful words. Words that hold the secret to attraction. Words most men will never understand. These two words, when lived and embodied, can flip the script completely, making a woman chase you instead of you chasing her. But here's the truth. Most men will never hear this secret, because society has trained men to act desperate, to prove themselves, and to beg for love instead of commanding respect. Yet when you live by these two words, you become different. You become the rare man she cannot ignore. Today I'm going to reveal those words, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how to live them. Because when you do, you unlock a craving in women that goes far beyond the surface. It's not about impressing her for one night, it's about becoming unforgettable. Chapter 1. The first word, presence. Presence. It might sound like just another word, but in reality, it's the single rarest quality in modern men. And here's the brutal truth. Women are starving for it. Imagine this for a moment. Emily, a young woman in London, has just come back from a stressful day at work. She's been surrounded by men all day. Colleagues cracking jokes, clients trying to impress her, even strangers giving her shallow compliments. Yet when she gets home, none of those men stick in her memory. Why? Because they were all the same. Distracted, nervous, trying too hard. Not one of them made her feel like she truly mattered. But then imagine she meets a man later that week at a cafe in Manchester. His name is James. James isn't the loudest guy in the room. He's not flashing wealth or bragging about his life. But when Emily talks to him, she notices something different. He's listening, truly listening. He's not glancing at his phone, not rushing to interrupt, not waiting for his turn to speak. He's simply there, steady, locked into the moment with her. And for the first time all week, Emily feels something she can't explain. A sense of calm, like the world has slowed down. That's presence. And presence is magnetic. A woman doesn't consciously say, "Oh, this man has presence." But her body feels it. Her emotions feel it. It's as if something deep inside her finally relaxes when she's around a man who is grounded. Here's where psychology reveals the secret. Women live in waves of emotions. One moment they're joyful, the next anxious, the next thoughtful. It's not weakness, it's simply the way they're wired. And because of that, a woman is constantly searching, often unconsciously, for a man who can stabilize her inner storm. Not by controlling her, not by fixing her problems, but simply by being calm enough that she feels safe around him. That's why a man with presence doesn't need pickup lines, money, or status. His energy does the talking for him. Think about Daniel, a man from New York. He used to struggle in dating because he was always in his head worried about what to say, how to impress, or what the woman thought of him. The moment he started practicing presence, slowing his breathing, holding eye contact, and focusing on the moment instead of his own worries, everything shifted. Women started leaning in closer. One woman even told him, "I don't know why, but I feel calmer when I'm around you." That wasn't a compliment about his looks or achievements, it was her craving his presence. Presence is also deeply Stoic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that true power is self-control. A man who cannot control himself, who fidgets, panics, or gets swept up in emotion, will always lose his woman's respect. But the man who remains calm in chaos, who can sit in silence without needing to fill it, becomes magnetic. Women secretly test for this. Maybe she suddenly complains about something small. Maybe she teases you about another girl. Maybe she gets emotional over something trivial. Most men react. They argue, defend, or fold under pressure. But the man with presence? He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't panic. He listens, he breathes, he smiles. And in that moment, she feels it. This man can handle me. This man can handle life. And once a woman feels that, she craves it. Because in her chaotic world, men like that are rare. Presence is not about what you say. It's about what you don't need to say. It's about eye contact that doesn't flinch, a calm voice that doesn't rush, a body language that doesn't scream insecurity. It's the rare skill of being exactly where you are, with no need to be anywhere else. That's why presence is the first powerful word. Without it, attraction fades. With it, you become unforgettable. Chapter 2, the second word, mystery. Mystery. Now let's flip the coin. If presence makes her feel safe, mystery makes her crave more. And this is where most men fail. Picture Sarah from Toronto. She meets two men in the same week. The first man, Michael, is successful, charming, and eager to impress. On their very first date, he talks endlessly about his job, his car, his family, even his childhood. By the time dessert arrives, Sarah knows everything about him. And you know what she feels? Nothing. There's no spark. Because he's given it all away. He's left no room for curiosity. The second man, Daniel, is different. When Sarah asks about his weekend, he smiles and says, "It was interesting. I'll tell you about it sometime." When she asks about his family, he shares a little but not everything. He leaves pieces untold, layers hidden. He's not evasive, he's simply not desperate to reveal his whole life in one sitting. And Sarah finds herself thinking about him later that night. What did he mean by that? What's his story? Who is this man really? That's the seed of craving. Mystery is not about lying or pretending. It's about depth. It's about understanding that attraction thrives on curiosity. If she already knows everything about you, the movie is over. But if you reveal yourself slowly with patience, you keep her hooked. Olivia, a woman in Sydney, once told me about a man she dated. I never quite knew what he was thinking. He wasn't cold, but he wasn't easy to read either. It drove me crazy in the best way, because I wanted to figure him out. That's the power of mystery. And here's the secret. Women are natural explorers of emotion. They love to discover. That's why they read novels, binge dramas, and dissect conversations with friends. They live for the unfolding story. When you are mysterious, you become her favorite story, a book she can't put down. Mystery is also deeply stoic. The stoic man does not overshare to gain approval. He knows his value, so he doesn't need to explain it all at once. His silence makes her curious. His restraint makes her wonder. And that wondering turns into craving. Think about the so-called bad boys who seem to capture women's attention. It's not because they're bad. It's because they're unpredictable. They don't reveal everything. They let a woman chase the answers. But unlike them, a stoic man pairs that mystery with stability. He's not reckless, he's grounded. That combination is what makes him irresistible. Most men think attraction comes from showing off everything at once. But the truth is, attraction grows when you reveal less, not more. Share just enough to connect. Keep the rest for later. Let her peel back the layers like chapters in a book. Because the moment she feels she's read all of you, the craving dies. Mystery keeps her mind racing. Presence keeps her heart calm. And together they create the craving she cannot escape. Chapter 3. How presence and mystery work together. Here's where the magic truly happens. Presence on its own is powerful. Mystery on its own is intoxicating. But when you combine them, something extraordinary occurs. A woman feels both safe and intrigued at the same time. And that combination is the rarest drug of all. Let me tell you a story. Sarah, a woman from Manchester, once told her friends about two men she was seeing. The first, a banker named Michael, had incredible presence. He was calm, grounded, and reliable. But after a few weeks, Sarah admitted, "He's lovely, but I know exactly who he is. There's nothing left to discover." Michael gave her peace, but no fire. The second man, Daniel, was full of mystery. He was adventurous, unpredictable, and hard to pin down. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about him. But soon the unpredictability turned into chaos. "I never know where I stand with him," she confessed. He gave her excitement, but no stability. Then one evening, Sarah met James, and James was different. When she spoke to him, she felt his presence instantly. He was attentive, calm, steady, but at the same time, she couldn't quite figure him out. He didn't spill everything about his life. He left pieces untold, and that combination of peace and curiosity was irresistible. "I feel safe with him," Sarah admitted, "but I also feel drawn to him in ways I can't explain." That's the power of combining presence and mystery. Psychology confirms this. Attraction thrives when two needs are met: emotional safety and mental stimulation. If a woman feels only safe, she relaxes but eventually gets bored. If she feels only stimulated, she gets hooked but also exhausted. But if she feels both, that's when she craves you. Think about it like this. Presence is the anchor. Mystery is the sail. Without the anchor, the ship drifts away into chaos. Without the sail, the ship never moves. But together, you have a journey that never ends. Now let's bring Stoicism into this. Stoicism teaches that a man should never be owned by external chaos, nor should he reveal all of himself to the crowd. A Stoic man controls his reactions. But he also keeps a depth within him that isn't easily accessible. That's why when a woman experiences his presence, she feels calm. And when she experiences his mystery, she feels curious. She doesn't fully own him, and that's exactly why she keeps chasing. Picture this scenario in New York. Emily is on a date with a man named Daniel. He's present, he listens to her, he's not distracted. He makes her feel like the only person in the room. But when she asks about his plans for the weekend, he simply smiles and says, "You'll find out." She laughs. But later that night she's lying in bed, thinking about what he meant. Did he have something exciting planned? Was there a surprise? That's mystery. The beauty is she doesn't even realize what's happening. Her emotions are calm, but her mind is restless. She feels safe, but she also feels pulled in deeper. And this blend of feelings is rare. So rare that once a woman feels it, she doesn't want to let it go. This is why some men are unforgettable. Women may meet hundreds of men in their lives, but the one who balances presence and mystery becomes the man she compares all others to. Years later, she might even admit, there was something about him. I never figured him out completely, but I always felt good around him. That's the mark you leave when you master this secret. Chapter 4. Living the Stoic Attraction Secret. Now here's the most important part. How do you actually live this out? It's not enough to know the words, presence and mystery. You must embody them. Because women don't fall for theory. They fall for how you make them feel in real life. First, let's talk about presence. Presence begins with self-mastery. You cannot be present with a woman if you're constantly distracted, anxious, or desperate for her approval. In London, I worked with a man named James who struggled because he was always trying to fill silences with words. He feared awkwardness, so he talked endlessly. Women liked him as a friend, but nothing more. The moment he learned to slow down, breathe, and let silence exist, everything changed. He discovered that silence isn't empty. Silence, when filled with presence, is powerful. A woman doesn't need you to talk nonstop. She needs you to look at her with calm eyes, to listen without rushing, to make her feel like time has stopped. That's how presence is felt. Now, mystery. Mystery is about pacing your story. Most men reveal everything within the first week because they're desperate to be liked. But craving requires curiosity. If you want her to think about you long after the date is over, you must leave space for her imagination. Take Daniel from Sydney. On a first date, he didn't tell Olivia everything about himself. When she asked about his travels, he shared one story, but hinted at more without explaining. When she asked about his future goals, he gave her a glimpse but not the full plan. She left the date smiling but also wondering, what else is there to him? That curiosity made her want to see him again. Mystery also means unpredictability, not in a reckless way, but in a way that keeps her guessing. If you always text at the same time, always take her to the same places, always say the same things, she'll eventually lose interest. But if sometimes you call instead of text, if sometimes you surprise her with something new, if sometimes you let her wonder about what you're thinking, she'll stay hooked. Now let's connect this to Stoicism. A Stoic man isn't a puppet of emotions. He doesn't overreact to tests or mood swings. He doesn't chase approval. His self-control makes his presence magnetic. His restraint makes his mystery natural. He doesn't try to be mysterious, he simply doesn't feel the need to reveal everything. And that's why women crave him. So how do you live the Stoic attraction secret? Be still. When you're with her, don't rush. Let silence breathe. Let your calm energy speak louder than your words. Be selective. Share parts of yourself, but not everything at once. Let her peel back the layers naturally. Be unpredictable. Not in a chaotic way, but in a way that keeps her guessing. Small surprises keep the craving alive. Be self-controlled. Never let her chaos pull you into chaos. Anchor yourself and she'll naturally anchor to you. And here's the final truth. Presence and mystery are not tricks. They are a way of living. When you embody them, women don't just like you, they crave you. Conclusion. So here's the truth. Attraction isn't about chasing women, proving yourself, or trying to buy her attention. It's about embodying two powerful words, presence and mystery. Presence makes her feel safe in a world that never stops moving. Mystery makes her crave more because she hasn't fully figured you out. Together, they create a force stronger than looks, money, or status. They create the kind of craving that makes her check her phone at midnight. Wondering about you? Be present like a mountain. Be mysterious like the ocean. and you'll never need to beg for attraction again. Women will crave you naturally. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.